Could Daniel Rivera be a roster option?
You are Locked On Louisville, your daily podcast on the Louisville Cardinals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Card Nation, what's going on, everyone? Welcome in to this Friday edition of the Locked On Louisville podcast. I'm your host, Dalton Pence. This is my fifth year covering the University of Louisville, third year hosting this show. And I want to take the time to personally thank you all for making us your first listen of the day. Just a reminder, Locked On Louisville free and available on all streaming services 5 days a week. Your team every day. Still waiting to get some more concrete news about who Louisville might add to next year's basketball roster. We have got a small tidbit that Louisville is interested or showing interest in Massachusetts transfer Daniel Rivera. We'll talk about the legitimacy of that rumor, his fit with the Cardinals, and much more. We'll talk about what Kobe Rodgers' impact may look like next season. We'll also break down the USA Today ACC football head coach rankings. You're going to like where Jeff Brohm was put on this ranking list. So happy 502 day to all the Louisvillians out there, all the fans of the Louisville Cardinals. First episode of the month of May. Thanks again for tuning in. We're just kind of in the hurry up and wait aspect of the offseason where the Cardinals have done the majority of the legwork to get to where this roster currently sits, and it's in a really good spot. But with James Scott entering the portal, Louisville still has at least one more spot to fill, which I think they will. I think that Louisville's going to add multiple players, but we don't really have many names to discuss, and I think that that could be by design. Pat Kelsey and company, what did Lil Wayne say? Real G's move in silence like lasagna. I mean, there's some truth to what Pat Kelsey and company are doing. I think that they're trying to keep everything under wraps here to where you don't know about something until it's about to happen. And I'm okay with that. It just sucks from a content perspective because we don't really have much to talk about. But there was a piece of information that was dropped or released, whatever you want to call it, on Friday. John Rothstein, famous college basketball personality, tweeted this out. UMASS transfer Daniel Rivera is receiving interest from the following programs per his agent, Ethan Rosenberg: Oklahoma State, Memphis, Mississippi State, Virginia Tech, Cincinnati, USC, UAB, FAU, and the Louisville Cardinals. So Louisville involved in this recruiting according to John. Now, there's some things that we have to discuss. First and foremost, just because a team is put on a list doesn't mean they are actively or significantly pursuing a prospect. I had multiple people reach out to me Friday morning saying, "Hey, look, here's a guy that Louisville's going after." And my response was, "Are they though?" Because this wouldn't be the first time. I'm not saying this is the case, but it wouldn't be the first time in which something like this were to happen. And of course, I'm talking about a team being thrown onto a list by a player's agent to either drive up the NIL price. That was the discussion early on. Remember how I said Louisville floating that 8 to 10 transfer portal number out there is going to, by default, have agents and players putting the Cardinals on lists to automatically drive up NIL prices. And when you talk about receive interest, I mean, it could be something as small as an introductory phone call. "Hey, any interest? What are the NIL demands here?" "Okay, thanks. Best of luck." That could be what interest means. So until I see something regarding a visit, other insiders shedding light on Louisville's interest, I'm going to take everything with a grain of salt here. But because we don't have a ton of new information out there, and for the sake of discussion, we'll discuss Rivera and what he brings to the table. The 6'6" forward from San Juan, Puerto Rico, played his past season at Massachusetts, started 29 of the 29 possible games for the Minutemen, played 29 minutes per game, averaged 10 field goals per contest for 44% from the field. He averaged 11.9 points a game, 7.4 rebounds per contest, 1.2 steals, and 1.4 blocks. The season before that, he played for Bryant, where he started all 32 games, had 32 minutes per game, 13.3 points per contest, 50% from the field, 8.1 rebounds per game. So Rivera is a really athletic slasher at the wing spot. That's where most of his offense is coming from, is around the rim. He does a great job of putting the ball on the floor and getting to the basket. At 6'6", 215 pounds, that strength and athleticism complement each other really well, and it allows him to be a force around the basket. Not only is he a good slasher, but he is more than willing of a defender. Really capable defender. I think, and this is a lack of film, but from what I've seen, I think that there's a ton of switchability there. That versatility is evident. Could guard the 2 through the 4, in my opinion. Can he guard the 1? I'm not sure. Can he guard the 5? Maybe, depending on the opposing team's personnel. He's also a great rebounder. Looking at the rebound numbers, 7.4 this year. That's top 120 in college basketball for a wing. That's great. And then 8.1 the year prior. He averaged 3 offensive rebounds a game this past season. So a lot of things that he does well check off multiple boxes for Louisville. Defense, rebounding, athleticism. There are 2 things that worry me here. And that's that his offense doesn't really match up well with Pat Kelsey's system. His 3-point shooting, not good. Doesn't take many, less than 1 attempt per game each season. 11% from 3 in 23-24. 23% this past season. So he's not a good perimeter shooter. And what worries me the most is that on 5 free throw attempts per game this past year, he shot 55% from the charity stripe. That's alarming. That's alarming to me. A player that's 6'6" as a wing shoots that poorly from the free throw line. What's something that we talked about this year? Louisville having some really cold spells from the charity stripe, and it almost hurt the Cardinals to the point to where they lost games. So those things worry me here, more so the free throw shooting than the 3-point shooting. If he were to commit and transfer to Louisville, I don't think he's a starter. I think he's a rotational player off the bench. He does give you some wing depth. And there could be a scenario out there where Pat Kelsey looks at his roster and says, you know what? We've added so much 3-point shooting. We added so much ball handling. We really need to go out and get more athleticism. We need to get a good point of attack defender, and we need to get some good rebounders. Well, I think Rivera checks off all 3 of those boxes: the athleticism, the rebounding, the defending. He's got that length for the wing spot. My only question here is that enough? Are you willing to take the trade-off of, yes, you're adding the slashing, the rebounding, the defending, but doesn't really fit with the MO of the roster in adding shooting? Like if you are trying to surround Michael Brown Jr. and Kason Pryor and all the other players you brought in with guys that can shoot 1 through 5, I just don't think Rivera is a great fit in that regard. Like I think he would be filling that Abubakar Traore role of not a great shooter, but rebounds. He can be a glue guy. He's a defender. He's a slasher. But the free throw shooting, once again, I keep coming back to that. So I wouldn't be mad if Pat Kelsey said, you know what, bring him in. I wouldn't be mad at it. I think that there's some things that he does well that Louisville still surely needs. It's that when he's in the game, you're going to have to surround him with shooters. So, wouldn't be the worst addition in the world. It's also going to be one of those, I don't think he is going to start. And you're also asking, is he worth it enough to take some of the minutes away from Kenai Roots, who is a rising sophomore? I know he didn't have a great freshman season, but the potential is off the charts. Can Rivera do what he's doing now at the Power 5 level? And I don't know the answer to that, truthfully. You know, he played in the A10, which it's not a terrible conference. It's some solid teams there, of course, in the Atlantic 10. But is it worth taking minutes away from Kenai Roots? Is bringing Rivera in worth making sure that you're not playing 3-guard lineups? Because that's another thing is I think that Louisville's got like one true wing on the team. That is Kenai Roots. When I talk about wing, I'm talking about your prototypical small forward. I think Roots is the 3. Hadley's more of a 4 in my opinion. I will die on that hill. He's better as a 4 than a 3 in my opinion. I think there's the reason why Louisville hasn't gone out and just brought in multiple wings, and that's because they have added more pieces to their backcourt. And that's where I think that this question comes into play. But who knows? We'll see if Louisville is seriously interested or not. Only time will tell. But we've continued to talk about some of the returning players and what their roles could look like. Talked about Ali Khalifa on the most recent episode. Let's talk about the other previous red shirt, Kobe Rodgers. What's his impact going to look like in 2025-26? We'll answer that when we come back on this Friday edition of the Locked On Louisville podcast. But first, Cardinal fans, want to take the time to tell you about our friends over at Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. And they have an inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands. Doesn't matter where you are. It gets delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service. And for the trade pros looking for that extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks such as a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Use the promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's while using supplyhouse.com. Card Nation, thanks again for making us your first listen of the day. Just a reminder, Locked on Louisville, free and available on all streaming services 5 days a week. Your team every day. Continuing along in this series of discussing what roles could look like for various players next season, more specifically returning guys. We've talked about Kenai Roots. Really can't mention James Scott anymore, even though we had a segment talking about him. Ali Khalifa has been the topic of conversation. Now let's talk about Kobe Rodgers. And I'll be honest, the opinions on what Rodgers brings to the table, they are so different. Like polarizingly different. Like I have seen some think that he's the starting point guard for next year. Pencil him in, he's the starting one. And then I've seen some that say, man, this guy's not going to play. And usually the middle ground is where people aren't in this discussion. Like a lot of people are either one way or the other. I think that truthfully, like a lot in this world, the answer lies somewhere in the middle. Everyone wants to make things so black and white, but the reality of the situation is 95% of reality lies in the gray area, in my opinion. And I think that that's where Kobe Rodgers finds his role. He redshirted due to a knee injury he sustained in the 2024 NCAA tournament game between the College of Charleston and Alabama in that season, his lone season in D1. The 6'3" native of Cincinnati averaged 9.7 points a game, 4.6 rebounds, 2.2 assists on 50% shooting from the field, 45% shooting from three, and 80% from the free throw line. Started at 18 of 31 games and averaged 21.7 minutes per night. Of course, College of Charleston's system under Pat Kelsey was a ton of substituting, which you kind of thought that's what was going to happen at Louisville this year, and it likely would have had the injuries not happen. I think that Kobe Rodgers is going to be a key piece in the rotation. I don't think he starts at the one. I think Michael Brown Jr. was the starter immediately when he committed to Louisville. That's just the reality. I think that he was immediately the starter, and he's as good as advertised. I also don't think he's going to be this guy that just doesn't play. Like, there have been people in my YouTube comments saying, you're forgetting about Kobe Rodgers, or you're talking too much about Kobe Rodgers. Bro, which one is it? The truth is that he's going to play. I don't think he comes to Louisville and stays after his redshirt year if he doesn't think he's going to play. I mean, Louisville went out, they brought Mike Kell in, they brought three really good guard options in. You have to imagine that Kobe Rodgers likely went to Pat Kelsey and said, hey, man, am I going to play? I think he's going to play. I just don't think it's going to be a starting role. I think that he is sort of your fifth guard option behind Michael Brown Jr., Isaac McNeely, Ryan Conwell, and Adrian Woolley. I think that that's why Louisville will play a ton of three-guard lineups, because there's a ton of mouths to feed in the rotation. I think that you're going to start three guards and mix and match where you see fit. Rodgers is an ultimate glue guy. He plays with an extremely high motor, high energy guy that is sort of that crafty 6'3", let me take it to the basket type guard. Not really a huge three-point shooter. The sample size is really low, 45%, but only on 1.3 total attempts per game. He was 98th percentile in 2024 in catch and shoot situations, but again, very limited sample size here. A lot of his offense comes from taking his guy off the dribble and scoring around the basket. 63% of his total shots from around the basket, where he shot 58%. So a lot of his offense going to be in the paint, whether it is getting the ball on a handoff, a delayed dribble handoff, which significant production coming from that, or he is utilizing his size and taking his defender down to the paint and finishing around the rim. So contrasting skill set, as the other four guys are really good at shooting. Not saying Rodgers can't be, but he's going to be more of that slasher, that take it to the basket, which is a valuable skill that I think that U of L is going to utilize. 18% assist rate. Like, the numbers don't really scream great passer, but the assist rate, I think, suggests otherwise. Something that he has to get better on. He has to improve his scoring off the dribble. He ranked in the 11th percentile in 23-24 in off the dribble shooting, which, for lack of better terms, hashtag not good. So what does that role look like? I see a lot of people utilizing that Bama box score in the NCAA tournament to sort of justify why they think he's going to be a starter. Maybe he ends up being one. I just don't think so. I think he's a key rotational guy off the bench. But don't forget, in that game against Alabama, most of the offense, I felt like, from what I saw, came when the Cougars were trailing by a significant amount. Like, the margin was double digits, close to 20%, or 20 points. Sorry, not 20%. He had 14 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. Like, he had a good stat line, not taking anything away from him. But a lot of that came from when Alabama took their foot off the gas. Like, they were winning big time in this game. So, again, nothing taking away from Kobe. I'm not sitting here suggesting that he's a bad player. I know that there's going to be some in the comments saying, well, Kobe Rodgers is good. He's going to show you. I'm not saying he's not. Kobe Rodgers is a good player. I trust Pat Kelsey here. I think that, like anything, you have to wonder how that injury rehab went. Hopefully he's able to get that burst and first step back. I think he's going to be able to. I just don't think realistically, he's going to be a starter. Like, you look at the minutes distribution at the College of Charleston back in 23-24, and admittedly they played more forwards, but Rain Smith averaged 26 minutes a game. Kobe Rodgers, 22. Bryce Butler, 21. Jordan Crawford, 12. CJ Fulton, 24. Khalil London, 10 minutes a game. I mean, Conwell, McNeely, Woolley, Michael Brown, they're going to get a good amount of minutes, and there's only so many minutes to go around to where I think that Rodgers is, I think, maybe in that 10 to 15 minutes per game sweet spot where he's going to be able to make an impact and still get good minutes to play. So, and of course, he'll be able to step in case of any injury, knock on wood. Hopefully that doesn't happen. And of course, any foul trouble too. So let me know what you think about what Kobe Rodgers brings to the table in 2025-26. I also think defensively he can have some solid upside as an on-ball defender guarding the ones and twos. So we'll see. When we come back, the USA Today released their ACC football head coach rankings, and spoiler alert, you're going to like where Jeff Brohm landed. We'll reveal it when we come back on this Friday edition of the show. Card Nation, it is business as usual when we come back next week. Continuing through May, news is starting to slow up. So we'll, of course, get some fun topics to discuss. But I want to reiterate, this is all about talking about what you guys want to hear. So whether it's asking some mailbag questions, some topic suggestions, please, I'm all ears. Drop them in the YouTube comments below. But continuing to the final segment of the week, Kentucky Oaks today, Kentucky Derby tomorrow. Fun week in Louisville. A publication from the USA Today team, Blake Topmeyer to be more exact. ACC college football coach rankings. Dabo Swinney leads, Mike Norvell tumbles. This is a piece that was released yesterday morning, Thursday morning, by Blake Topmeyer, covering college football, national college football columnist for USA Today. He released his rankings 1 through 17, and I was very, very interested to see where Jeff Brohm landed. Because it feels like when you talk ACC football and the Louisville Cardinals, it's just almost under contract for the Louisville Cardinals to get slept on, to get underrated. Happens all the time. Doesn't get talked about enough. And a lot of these rankings I kind of agree with. Frank Reich at Stanford, he's the interim coach. He's listed at number 17. I think that Fran Brown at Syracuse being at number 11 was sort of interesting, despite him winning 10 games last year. But again, more sample size there. Bill Belichick landed at number 10. So it's one of those things where Blake was like, you got to prove to me that you're a top coach before you can be put here. And I love this. I love that Blake uses this as sort of a measuring stick. Brent Key is number 6 at Georgia Tech. Mario Cristobal at Miami. Blake doesn't let 1 year of Cam Ward and company skew the rankings. Mario Cristobal still with only 1 really good year. He's at number 5. Mike Norvell gets put at number 4. It's sort of the same thing here. That last year put a damper on how Mike Norvell is viewed as a coach, not only in the conference, but nationally. So by process of elimination, Jeff Brohm in the top 3. Number 3 is Rhett Lashlee, who got to the college football playoff in his first season coaching a Power 4 conference team. But it was one of the same things. You got to show me more. And that's where Jeff Brohm got the nod at number 2. I'm going to read you this little paragraph verbatim. Brohm makes programs better. Western Kentucky, Purdue, and now Louisville greatly improved under his guidance. He's produced 8 winning seasons in 11 years, and that is a bigger compliment when you consider he coached Purdue for 6 seasons. His steady hand for offense translates from school to school and conference to conference. Shout out to Blake Topmeyer for finally giving Jeff Brohm his full flowers. You mean to tell me succeeding at Purdue is not easy? Wow, who would have thought? Who would have thought? How dare Jeff Brohm only win 8 games at Purdue? How dare Jeff Brohm only take Purdue to bowl eligibility? Because it's so easy, right? As a matter of fact, I want you all to go look at Purdue's win-loss record in their history and tell me if it's easy. Same thing with Western Kentucky. And now he comes to Louisville where he posts back-to-back 9+ winning seasons. It hasn't always been pretty. They've lost some games that they shouldn't have. Pittsburgh in 23, Stanford in 24, arguably SMU in 24. But they're still handling business. And putting Jeff Brohm at number 2 in these coaching rankings, I think it's just more validating from the national landscape to where Brohm goes from, he didn't really do much. You look at the overall record, it's not going to wow you. And then you start to think about the context. And you think about where he's coached. And it's like, oh, the real ball knowers, they know about Jeff Brohm. There's going to be a segment we have next week about why, if you're a top quarterback, you should 1,000% consider Louisville. It's because of Jeff Brohm. More on that next week. But number 1 is Dabo Swinney. He goes on to say Clemson won the ACC after not adding a single transfer. Yada, yada, yada. At his peak, Swinney won 55 games and 2 national titles in a 4-year span behind great quarterbacks and wide receivers. He won't recreate that, but Clemson remains nationally relevant. Look, I mean, Dabo Swinney being number 1 over Jeff Brohm, I don't think anyone's really going to argue that, nor really should they. But I'm really glad that Jeff Brohm is getting his flowers here, because if you are looking at the entire body of work, I know that with Mario Cristobal, the ceiling might be just a tad bit higher from what he's accomplished. Like, yes, Rhett Lashley has got to the playoff. Mike Norvell has coached an undefeated regular season team. But we're taking full bodies of work here. And that's why I agreed so much with the Jeff Brohm hire, is that sometimes you might not have, there might not be a season where you're making the college football playoff, or you might not make it every single year, even though this program has not made it once. But I mean, for whatever reason, saying that the expectation to win 9 games is telling your fan base that the team sucks. It's quite a wild opinion there, but nonetheless, I digress. The floor is extremely high with Jeff Brohm. Great ball coach. Great ball coach. I'm really glad that with Tyler Shuck getting drafted, he's getting more recognition. I'm glad that with Louisville winning that rivalry game in November, that he's getting more recognition. And I think you're starting to see, because at the end of the day, it's not like these things can't help you, because perception is reality. And if recruits across the country, transfers across the country perceive Jeff Brohm as a top coach nationally, it's only going to help. It's not going to hurt you at all. So that is going to wrap up this discussion for the day. Everyone have a great day, a great weekend. Be safe, have fun. Go to the Derby if you can. Celebrate the Derby accordingly. We'll see you right back here at the end of the weekend. And go Cards.